Hi friends, today's topic to discuss is annotations. So what exactly the annotations are? So annotations are nothing but these are the comments. So uh, these are the comments or message which need to be propagated uh, to the compiler to the JVM. So we already have comments. There are three types of comments, which is single line, multi-line, and Java doc comments. So these comments are already available. Then why do we need some extra feature for commenting? So the reason behind is the whatever these three types of comments are there. So these three types of comments are uh, not propagated at compile time and runtime. So these are omitted by the compiler. So these comments will not be propagating. So, but we want to ensure some specific type of behavior. So that is why we need to pass some comment to the compiler or to the JVM, so that my class should behave in that particular manner. So for that we need annotations. This annotation feature is provided by Oracle for the same. Now, how to write the annotations, and then after that we'll see the custom use case for this implementation of our custom annotations. So annotations are used using at the rate symbol. So these annotations first of all need to be defined. So I will start with some custom annotation definition. So I'll define one custom annotation, and this annotation, so this is the retention policy. So this retention policy we can select at the source level only we want, at the class level, that compiler level we want, or at the JVM level, runtime level we want. So we want to make the class behave in particular manner. So that is why I want at runtime. So this type is for classes, interfaces, and this is for field, and this is for method. We can define, and we can select multiple as well. So we can define at field level also, method level also. So but right now we will be considering only specific type. So only field level I am going to define. So let's make the name also as field annotation. Field annotation, done. Okay, done. So here we have field annotation, which is runtime and target, and this can take basic integer type, boolean type, string type, or enum type of variables. So let's take simplest is value, and we need to define this as method type, that is parenthesis we need to add. If I don't add, then it will be giving me compile time error, because this is not normal interface, this is annotation at the rate is there. Okay, fine, this annotation is defined. Now after this we need one class where I will be using this annotation. So say target class, and let's make that as target package. So target class is there, and let's declare one field private int value, mark the annotation field annotation. Now we are getting this error message saying I have missing the attribute. So one attribute we have defined as integer type value. We need to add that. Okay. So value is by default it is taking 0. Let's make it 100. Now our annotation is defined, and since this is private, I need to access this. So let's declare the setters and getters for this value field. Now it is done. After doing this, I will need to consume this class and get the annotation for the same. So let's create one class and field annotation consume. Okay, this target also we change consume. Okay, yeah, it is there. Now I need to have a main method where I will be consuming this class. So our class is target class. So target class as target equals new target class and sysout target value is plus target dot get value. So let's run this. So after running this, we are getting this 0, which is default value for this. We have not initialized, so default value 0 is coming, but this annotation is not coming. So the thing is, we need to get the annotation as well. Otherwise, there is no use if we can't access the annotations. So for that, we need to have reflection concept. So what I will do, I will declare one field as value only, and target dot class dot get declared field, and field name exactly same we have declared, which is value. Now there is compilation error, it is throwing some checked exceptions, so I will not handle it, just throw it. So here I have thrown the exception. So value I got. Now after that, this field is having the annotation. So what I will do, field annotation and equals value dot get annotation. I need to get the annotation, and this annotation is field annotation dot class. For this we have got the annotation. What exactly the annotation was there, we have got. Now I need to get the annotation value. So what I will do, I will and dot value, because value we have defined. So and dot value, this is value we got. Now we need to print that. So sysout and annotation value Okay, so now this will be and dot value. Okay. Okay, so we have got 100 we defined. If we change to 10, this 10 should be reflecting here. So yeah, it is reflecting. So that is what it is. Now, the thing is, one more thing we have missed here. Missed means the next part, which I will discuss. We can define the default type also, default behavior. So default say -1. So this -1, if I don't provide any value, this -1 will be considered. So now let's check this. So let's say again we do that, and okay, now let's rename to val, and we don't provide any attribute. Now we can see this time when we are not providing any attribute, it is not giving me any compilation error, just because we have defined the default behavior. So that means here I'm not providing any value, which is it becomes the optional. So initially it was, since we didn't define any default behavior, so this was mandatory. So if we don't, that means if we are not going to define any default behavior, then that attribute will become mandatory. And if we provide some default behavior, then that attribute will become optional. So based upon the business requirement of ours, we can tweak in between. As per the requirement, we can change the things. So now here, since we have not defined, so similarly we will get default value, which is -1, that means 0. So let's check that out. So same thing, only thing is I already have created the target class. So what I will do, I will, okay, val only, we need annotation and one val, same thing, and one, and this one not target value, target val, get the target val. Okay, so now it should give me what, sys out, and let's separate this. Done. So now let's consume target value as 0, and now custom annotation. Oops. Okay, so actually we defined val over here, so that is why it is giving me the this value, sorry, this value. So now we have changed the variable name, so now it will give me -1. So it is done. If we want, we can set the value like fields with the custom values or whatever we want, we can do that. So this is how this custom annotation things are defined and used in the target class, and there in the consumption thing, I can consume that. So our this second agenda is complete. Now we have to discuss use case. So what use case we have? So the use case is, I will define the annotation, define annotation for class level, and create singleton or prototype objects as per annotation value. So whatever the annotation value we will provide, based on that annotation value, uh, the object should be created, either singleton type or prototype. Simple case. So let's start. First of all, let's define the annotation, the same annotations field. So what I will do, I will create the annotation, and this annotation, this is runtime, this will be class type. I will remove the field type, and let's make as class annotation. Class annotation, it is done. Yes, now I have to provide some value. So these values, that is attributes, could be of type primitive integer or boolean or string or enum type. So if I provide the boolean value, then true false, that means it is singleton or prototype. So based upon that, if it is true, say true means singleton, false means prototype. Or we can define one string, and a string we can pass the value for in the string only. So here I will choose to have one enum type. Let's create enum and let it be in the same annotations package only. So let's make it as a bean scope. Okay, and bean scope will be having two values, which will be singleton one and prototype. Done. So these two bean scopes we have defined. Now we will use this bean scope done, and yeah, that's it. Bean scope, and if we want to make it mandatory, I will not provide any default value. If I don't want to make it mandatory, that means our business value says default should be the singleton. So let's make it singleton. Singleton. So let's make this bean scope as singleton. This is our default annotation. Now I have to declare the target class. So the target class is actually the singleton object. So here I will have to create one class. So target class is target class we have already used, so let's make it singleton object. Okay, now this singleton object is there. Now this class, singleton object class, should be having one and only one instance of it. So let's recall that. How do we create that? So for creating the singleton instance, what are the steps are required for singleton? Singleton steps. Step number one, declare a constructor as private. Second step is declare static method to get instance of it. Third one, declare static variable for holding instance. And then fourth one will be if instance not created, then create thread safe instance. That means not exactly thread safe, but then create instance for only one thread. So if say 3-4 threads are there and all the threads are invoking the get instance method, so all threads must not create one instances, but whichever thread gets chance to create it should be creating one instance, and other threads, if they try, they will get the same instance of it. So this is how the logic is. So let's go by logic, and now first thing is create the first of all I will require to make the annotation as class annotation, and since it is not prompting me for default scope, then let's define the scope as singleton. So even if we don't define the scope, it is singleton only. So now annotation has been, class has been marked annotated. Now private static this singleton object, say instance we are calling it. This is the instance. Okay, now how do we keep track that one thread has got chance to create the instance, so only one instance is being created? So for that we will have a thread safe atomic integer value, which is counter equals new atomic integer initial value. If you don't provide, it is by default taking 0 only if you don't provide any argument. So let's take it. And now next step is to declare singleton object constructor, and we don't want to do anything inside the constructor, and this should not be the public, it should be private. Now steps complete. After that okay, let's create the getters and setters for these two. Done. So now we are good with it. Okay, so this singleton object has been created. Now we need to implement the logic for creating the instance. Now the thing is, there could be multiple classes like this, and these classes should be created, I mean instance should be created inside one central class, and inside that central class, based on the annotation value, I should be creating the instance. So either a single instance or multiple instance. So inside that, just we are going to use the factory pattern for that. So let's create another class which will be the factory class. So okay, factory object creator. Let's call this only factory object creator. Now this factory object creator is there. So yeah, so how do we proceed for this logic? So the logic is we should be having one static method. So public static of whatever type t, and get instance, and get instance, and then instantiate or get instance or whatever you want. We need one class of type t, class. Then now it is return statement. Okay, fine. So let's create e object equals null and return object or instance, whatever you want, you can use the word. So now this is done. Okay, we need to get the, like previously what we did, we created one field object, and from that field object uh, we uh, we actually created the we got the annotation, and from that annotation we got the value. So now we need to extract the annotated value. Here we have this enum type singleton, so we need to extract that. For extracting, what is the step? Class annotation, which is cls and equals class dot get annotation for which class? Class annotation dot class. So we got this class annotation. Now we need to get the value. So the value is bean scope scope equals class n dot scope. So here the scope will be there, and we can see that by giving the sysout statement. Since already we have seen earlier for integers, so I guess we don't require to again recheck that. So let's continue with this logic implementation. So now I have to check if this scope dot name dot equals is of type singleton. If this is the case, then create single instance. So for creating the single instance, let's create one private method. private method will again return of type t and single instance or whatever, then class type t class. Done. Again it will be saying that define one t instance equals null and return instance. Done. So now it is done. Now here what I will have to do, I will have to call this instance method and single instance and class. Okay, so now this is going to return me this instance, so need to hold this. So here I am holding this, and this factory will return the instance created here, singleton instance. So half work done. So wiring done. Now I need to create the instance, in single instance for that. So how to achieve that? So in order to achieve this, we declared this inside multi-threading environment. We also need to consider that. So for that, I will use lock concept. I am preferring this lock concept over synchronized block because synchronized block is middleware logic. This is not a mid-level logic for implementing this synchronization, which may break under some circumstances depending upon the processor to processor. So that is why it is recommended to use the high-level concurrency API. So I am using this concurrency API. Lock equals new re-entrant lock. We have a retention policy and all fair policy, like if multiple threads are waiting, then it should be given, and also I'm just ignoring that. Simple lock is created. Now since my factory object is for creating the instance, singleton instance for whatever the class we are providing. So suppose if I provide the string class, then it should create the instance for string? No. Or this logic should be only for our specific classes, business specific classes. For that, we need some check mechanism. So I am defining private static final string regex equals. So now what our package structure is. So our package structure for this particular concept is com.test.annotations, com.test.annotations.consume.target.blah. So base package is com.test.annotations. So what I will do, I will copy this and paste it over here, star. So whatever in this pattern comes, the class with this pattern, that class only should be instantiated, not other classes. So here I need to create some Boolean thing. So before that, I need package pack equals class dot get package. So now class dot get package, and now I need to create boolean flag equals pattern dot matches regex, and input is pack dot get name. Now this package name we got, and we will check whether the package name, whatever the class we are providing, is according to this structure. So if it is true, that then only we should be doing that. So if flag, so if there is a flag thing, then only do this. Okay, done. So now we need to create the logic for that. So before that, what I will do, I will get the fields, get the methods for that. So say if I field counter equals class dot get declare field, and declare field is instance and counter. Okay. So there should only be one counter, otherwise every instance will be having their own counter. Okay, done. For counter, let's create that. Okay, so yeah, instance and counter. So this is counter, so counter. Okay, it should be having throws, so let's make it exception only, and let's handle it here at central, because there would be multiple catch try catch blocks, so better throw here and handle here. So yeah, this is done, and this counter instance we have already created, so inst, okay, and instance, right, instance and counter. Okay, done. Fields done, fields created. Now what the thing is, I will need let's see, when I will create the instance, I need to set the instance to this singleton object. So this set instance, I feel it should not be accessible, should not be public, because they can check, since this is the static thing, so instance is not required. So let's make it private, and I will need the atomic integers also, getters and setters. So uh, getters are okay, there should not be any problem, but setters, if I set something, then it should be problem. So better make them private only, so that outside world is not going to access this. And let's make this remove this warnings. Get counter, it could be public also, private also, there is no issue with that because we are just getting the value. So getters are okay, setters should not be accessible. And yeah, this is done. Now since fields are declared as private, so let's make it counter accessible as true. I need to access that, and inst dot set accessible as true. So accessibility I have defined. Now since I told that we will be requiring three different methods, so let's declare the methods as well here. Method, what method? Get count equals class dot get declared method, and this get declared method is name. What is the method name? So our method name is get count. So get count, and get count is not taking any parameters into it, so let it be like this only. Let's check. This is set counter, get counter it is. So get counter, otherwise we will get no such method exception. So this is done, and again similarly get count dot accessible as true. Next method will be this will be set count. So set count, and this will be set counter, and set count also accessible. Done. Next we have set the object, the setter object, this one, set instance. The set instance is required, so let's copy this, and here set instance. Now set inst, set inst, done, accessible. Okay, fine, it is done. Now what I have created, let's check. Lock created, package got, and this pattern matching is done. Field we have got, which is the counter and instance, and then okay, and now what we got, what we should be having, we should be having two more variables. These variables are atomic integer count equals null, and one more variable will be required as checking whether the object is there or not. So boolean type no inst or no object, yeah, let it be, and some value false to whatever you want, we can do. So yeah, it seems so far done. We'll declare once, if we find we are short of something, then we will define accordingly. Now the thing is, now we should get the value of the counter. Okay, so counter value, what exactly the initial counter value is. So for that, I will get one object val equals get count dot invoke. I need to invoke this method, and this will take as a class. Which class we have? So we have class, and there are no arguments need to be passed, so it is done. So whatever we have done so far, using method and all, so we can do this via field also, but the thing is, field will also be having get method. So inside that get method, since it is static, so we will be providing the class name, so it will throw some exceptions. So those exceptions, nothing but just handle it and don't do anything inside that. Just put it into the try catch block, and we will be good. But these methods, I mean, since these are the methods, so from there we can get those values. Instead of fields, we are getting it through methods also. So anyway you can use, if you are uh, if you don't want to use a method, invoke the method, you can still go with the field. So here, just like this counter and inst we have defined, so we can do that same thing with that only get method we can call, just like this, say counter dot get, and here we will provide class. So this will give me what? This will give me the value containing the counter object. Here also invoking and getting the same thing, this invoke method. So either way is correct. So there is no harm in it to use that. Now I need to assign this. So where is my count? Count equals well, since this is atomic type, I need to cast it, casting done, and now I need to set the no instance flag. I can do this here also. Um, let's do it here directly, and same thing we can do here also. Equals count dot get, and if this value is equal to 0, that means there is no instance, right? So far done. Now we are good to go. So if it is flag, and after that if no instance, again if there is no instance, then what to do? So what should be the logic here? So now there is no object, that is our class is falling under the package structure what our project is having, and there is no instance. Now create that. So for before creating, let's get the lock lock, get the lock on the object, and after that I need to invoke the constructors. So the thing is, since I have defined only one constructor, which is single constructor, uh, but we can have multiple constructors as well, but since that constructor is private, so only one instance will be created. So better define that. Accordingly, business logic can change. Say for example, here this is the constructor. We can have multiple constructors. Inside that some parameters will be there, and those will be public, and then it will be calling inside this, that, blah blah blah. So there could be multiple scenarios. So I'm just I'm taking constructor of type T, constructors equals class dot constructors, get constructors. This is done. Let's do it, get declared constructors, and cast it to type T. Type we have casted, and I know there will be only one constructor into that. So I will do, what I will do is constructor of 0. Let's trim this. Cons constructor. So cons of 0 dot set accessible. We can, if we are having a scenario which in which say there could be multiple constructors, then we can iterate over the entire constructor, and we can check if the parameter count is 0. That means there is no parameter that is default constructor. For that only we can set that accessible, and whatever the steps I am doing right now, we can do that for that way also. So it will be something like this. It will be like for constructor C cons and here in this I will iterate, and if C dot get parameters, no, not parameters, parameter count, yeah, get parameter count equals 0, then do these things. So this way also we can do the same thing, but since we are sure that only one constructor is there, so cons of 0 dot set accessible as true. Constructor should be accessible to from here, since that is private, otherwise we will get a runtime exception. And now I need to instantiate that. So where I will, yeah, instance, inside that instance equals cons of 0 dot new instance. New instance is done, and there are no arguments required, so it is done. Constructor instantiation done. After that, and, I need, since instance is created, so I need to increment the value as well. So I will do one thing. I will this count dot set count dot get plus 1. So get the value and add it. That is 0. We can directly set 1 also. But this way also we can do that. Set as 1. We can do this also. There is no harm. So both are correct. Now after this, let's unlock. Since instance is created, let's unlock. After unlocking, I need to set the value, or I do better, I do one thing. I set here only, then only I will unlock. So here I will set object, where is set instance, set instance dot invoke. Invoking is okay, class where is class? Class, and arguments will be the object, which is instance. This instance created will be set over here. That is done. So this part done. Now what if the object is already created? So that means object is already created, this instance, this should be set over here. So what I will do, I will again do one thing, which is set instance dot invoke, and actually that instance is no. Actually this instance need to be reflected over here. So what I will do is instance equals get, yeah, get object. So I need one method again. Get object, set count, set count was not required, right? Set count not required, so instead of set count, let's make it get inst, and this is instead of set is get. That is done. Get inst dot invoke, and invoking is instance, so class, and argument is not required. Done. And casting, cast it to t instance returned. Now our logic is done. So just like this, we have implemented. Okay, quite. Yeah, so it is done. Now after this, we need consumption, consume. So let's create a new class in the consume package and class annotation consume. So class annotation consume is called. So now I need to check that. So first main method we need to create. Main method is created, and inside that main method I need to call that factory object. Factory object creator dot get instance, and instance for what? Singleton object, which is singleton object dot class. So this is created. Now I need to hold this, so single ob1 equals create. Okay, created, and another object, let's create. So that is done. Now we need to check that. So what should be the sysout? Sysout is equality. Equality is what? So op1 should be equals to op2. Then only this means that both the object references, both the reference variables are pointing to the same object. That means only one object is created. Okay, let's check it. Equality is true, and set instance, there is no such method exception is there. Set instance. Okay, it is no such method exception. Set instance, and 47 number line is giving me the problem. Let's check it out. This one. Set instance. Set instance is there, but it is private. If I do this as public, will it make any changes? Okay, so that is not making any change. So actually this is the static method, so that is why it is giving this runtime exception. So let's make it private only. So let's check here only why we are getting only for this method, why not for other methods, only this method we are getting. So there should be some issue with that. So let's check it out. Are we doing any mistake? Okay, let's better redefine this. Okay, this is done. Now set counter setter method should be private and private. Okay, this is done. Warning, we have resolved. Set instance only it is. Okay. Equality is true, that is only one object is being created, but um, we can change this over here, and if this is getting us the error, we can do one thing. It might be giving us error, so let's do one thing. We will do as method of type methods equals class dot get declared methods. Get declared methods is, now I will do one thing. Since these are the method names, I will declare them here and as okay. As null. Okay, this one also as null, and this one also as null. Even though these first two methods were not giving us any problem, but still let's make it. And for method methods. Okay, now m dot get name, if m dot get name double equals string type what get counter, if this is get counter, then do something. Okay, if it is get counter, get instance and set instance, so get instance and set instance. So what I will do, I will do get count equals m, and before that I will make m dot accessible true. So this one also true, and this get instance, so this is get instance is get inst get inst and set inst done. Yeah, so it is giving me true, that is only initially also it was coming that these two objects are pointing on the same object which is being created. So now we have executed our use case over here, and this is the singleton object where we have used the annotations, and here in the factory we have accessed that, and after that we have created. If it is not the singleton, then we can create here, this scope is not singleton, then here we can create else part, and accordingly we can write the logic. Similarly, since we have used here in class annotation as enum type, we can again use the boolean type, or we can use string type as well, depending upon the requirement. So that's all, friends. This is what we discussed, and if you want, you can access this code on my this GitHub, and I'll be uploading this very soon, and you can check out the code from there. And if you like this video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and please comment what you liked about this video, what you disliked about this video, and what are concepts in future you want to see. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.